And they all know, because they have to deal with a legislative environment, that we appreciate brevity is the soul of wit. And they're going to give us brief statements and then take questions from the audience. Christian, you want to lead off?
Yeah, well, Robert, you're not going to like me for doing what I'm about to do, but I just have to. We are supposed to focus on the future and where do we go from here. But we can't do this because you guys have all heard what the Canadian truckers just told you. They were there. And there wasn't a single one that was able to speak about the events without crying. And that just goes to show the amount of pain and suffering they inflicted on them. It is actually, I'm lacking the words to describe that. That is what trauma looks like, emotional trauma. And the thing is really this: we have all been put through the same hell, in different levels, but through the same hell. But everything considered, and despite what they put us through, we're actually the lucky ones. We are. You know why? Because we did not fall for their BS. We saw right through it. Our inner belief system was not shattered. I can't even imagine how hard it must for the people who bought in to the narrative of the government, who trusted their government, because they're supposed to trust their government. What did it do to these people? They will never be able to trust their own guts again. And that's the real damage they did and inflicted on these people. And I feel really pity with the people that had to come to that conclusion, having been betrayed by their own government that they had elected. And I'm going to say it again. Every single represented official, every single representative in the government around the world, if you were a part of this, shame on you. You do not deserve to be in office. But having said that, I now know I can trust my guts. And I can even more forcefully criticize my government, and I call BS when I see it. Because I know I was right. I was right in not believing them. And that gives me the strength to actually continue to do just that. Now, when you look at the EU institutions, I'm just going to outline this very, very quickly. The way they're structured, the way they interact with each other, they're not undemocratic, they're downright anti-democratic. And that is by design. They did not make a mistake. They did not oversee some principle, some democratic principle. It is by design. And it all aims up to stripping all of our free liberal societies which are made up of free individuals. They're designed to strip all of us of our rights, freedom, democracy, and the rule of law, and most importantly, and it was mentioned a couple of times today, of individual freedom. That is the foundation on what our democracies are built on. But if you have individuals, if you have characters, if you have personalities, you cannot just shovel them around and sort of mail them down to a malleable, spineless mass. You will have to deal with these personalities. That's why they're robbing us of everything. And like I said, it's done via the E-institutions. And the E-institutions are only a little stepping stone to the overall agenda they're all trying to achieve, which is ultimately to implement global governance. But to do that, they have to get rid of all of the national states because they are going to be in the way, right? And in Europe, it's particularly difficult because a small continent, we live in so many different languages, cultures, peoples. We all have our own faiths, our own history, our own experiences. To break up these national states, particularly difficult. So they came up with this brilliant idea in their mind, the EU institutions, to break up with that, take it to one level, and then ultimately go up to, the global governance. And the challenge they're facing in the United States is a different one. You are already one nation, but you have a much more profound concept and understanding of freedom. And that's why they need to attack your sense and your concept of freedom. And it's done through so various mechanisms, whether it's the EU institutions or the WHO or, even the United Nations. Even that is some kind of a global governance. So what I'm always fighting for, and particularly in the EU Parliament, and I'm doing that with my colleagues, and we are not that many, by the way, a small minority, but I will never tire to defend freedom, democracy, and the rule of law, and above all, individual freedom. That I will always fight for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine, and thank you so much for everybody who was here and who followed us over the past years, I would say. And considering the fact that it's a Sunday today, I'd like to start my... Okay, we'll do that. So considering that it's Sunday today, I would like to start my short speech today with a verse from the Bible, from the book of John, where he states, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." So what we saw happening at the beginning of the pandemic was the spread of this darkness all across the globe. As this was done, first of all, through public policies, and then it was done by the media. Now, media has a very important role in a democracy. It is called in the Western world the fourth power in the state. In a tyrannical regime, the media has a different role: to indoctrinate and to forcefully educate people, to be obedient to the government and of the government. And that's exactly what happened. My previous speaker from Canada, Vizi, he was telling you his experience from Romania under communism and the way, he participated at the anti-communist revolution. I mean, imagine the shock that we had, all of us in the European Parliament that are representing our countries from Eastern Europe, when we saw happening exactly the same scenario. We were shocked. I mean, we are not experts in the medical field. We are not scientists. We are, elected officials from different categories of the society. But we expected the media to be the one asking the proper and the correct questions. And they were not doing that. Not only that they were not doing that, they were attacking us when we were doing their job. So let me just give you some facts. In November of 2019, the Taiwanese authorities notified WHO that there's a virus in China that is killing people, that is close to like a pneumonia, whatever you name that. WHO had the historical chance in November of 2019 to notify all the countries in the world that there is a virus, a now known virus that is going around China, and they could have shut the traffic and everything and find a way to contain it. They did not do anything. In December of 2019, the whole world found out about the virus. On January the 11th, 2020, There was a guy from China who released publicly the DNA sequence of the COVID-19 virus. The date is very important, and I'll explain you why. Few days later, WHO came out publicly and said, well, this is not a deadly virus. You should not worry about it. I remember the Romanian president, when people started writing about it, he pretty much called, and I quote, stupid. People who were worried in the month of January and February of 2020 that this might be a deadly virus. And out of the blue, in the month of March, the entire narrative across the globe changed. From a non-deadly virus, it became a very dangerous and a very deadly virus that the whole world must be in lockdown. Now, obviously, again, we are not scientists, but it should have been the job of the media to ask why. Because right now you heard previous speakers talking about the kind of power that WHO wants to get from all the nations in the world. But if you go back just 3 years, the same WHO had the historical chance to save the planet, because everybody wants to be a messiah now. Well, they had a chance, and they failed. So, this should be a lesson learned from all the people and all the elected officials to question everything. Well, that's exactly not the stuff that was not done during the pandemic, but was not even allowed. And we go back to my colleagues. In 2021, we were asked to vote on the digital COVID certificate. And we started asking questions. What are you talking about? We were called because we were all at home back then. We were not allowed, we were asked to work from home, right? To work from home. And we were called to vote on an emergency procedure on the digital COVID certificate. And we asked, what is that? Well, we don't have time for debates. We got to move fast. Well, hold on a second. What do you mean you move fast? We need debates. We need to know what the hell is going on. Oh, you're questioning the science. Well, obviously, because I'm a living person, I question everything. Right? I doubt I exist, as an old philosopher said, right? Well, we had at least, we met, someone from the European Commission, and the person came and said, well, we got to vote for this because, it's a pandemic and stuff. And I had one question, and I said, based on this, I will decide if I vote in favor of it or against it. Can someone die after receiving this injection? And the person said, but look how many people we save. Well, that was not the question. I restate my question, can someone die after being injected with this so-called vaccine? Yeah, but also if you get Advil, you die. You could die. I said, that is true. But the difference is you're not asking us to vote. That when you go on a plane or when you cross the border from one country to another to get an Advil. That's the difference. So I restate my question. Can someone die, hypothetically speaking, after being injected with this medical product? And the person said, probabilistically, yes. And I said, sure, certainly, I'm against it. Why? Because I am not God. I cannot play with anybody's life or health, knowing now, you just told me, that someone, hypothetically, potentially, could die. This is not the reason why we were elected in these offices. We were elected here to serve our people, not to expose them at risks that might cost their lives. We cannot play Russian roulette with these people. Yeah, but look what the media says. I know. There was an interview with some guys who play Russian roulette. There were 6 people around the table. They play Russian roulette, and at the end, only 5 remained alive. So when the media asked them, well, we heard that this game is risky. The 5 guys said, what are you talking about? We are alive. It's not risky at all. Yeah, what about the other guy? So imagine now, when the entire world was played with this way. So it is our job as elected officials, regardless where we are. So this ICS summit started because us, in different parts of the world, we were exactly what this verse from the Bible said. That light, it doesn't matter if it was big or small or, a light that was shining in that darkness that these people wanted to, put upon us. And look where we are right now. All these dots of light are meeting here, and I'm sure we'll be meeting in many more places down the road. And despite anything, we gave a lot of hope. So when we had the first press conference, I will never forget that October 2021. We had the first conference, and we had kind of, some kind of emotions. I mean, you realize that we realized that, we will be hammered by the media. So we called the press conference, and guess what? The room was empty. So we had a discussion before, well, there's nobody here. What do we do? And I said, it doesn't matter. We speak to the world. And that's what we did. And because we did that, we are here today. And we were in many other places, and we will be in many other places. So the recommendation and the advice that I have to all of you, I heard some of you that is running for office. And I encourage you to run for offices in your countries and in your counties and in your states. Because it's the only way to make this world a better place. If you look around and you don't see proper elected officials in offices, well, you know why that happens? Because that is your place. You gotta go run for office. Even if you don't win, doesn't matter. You change the narrative. You talk about all of these things that at the end of the day, other people will be talking about it. And look where we are right now. The whole world is like waking up. Do not be afraid. Do not be silent. And do not be passive. Thank you, and God bless you.
Is this also? Oh yeah, this is also working. No one uses it. It's such a privilege to speak after